G'day and welcome to Well Education with Laura and Jockey Boy. Today's video is full of useful strategies and tips that you can use to help your child transition back to school successfully. Let's begin. Going back to school after a long break can be quite daunting for your child, particularly when you add in all the stress and worry and anxiety and fear that has been around the coronavirus and the lockdowns with their social isolation. It's been a really tough time. And now that we're starting to move out of these lockdowns and the children are starting to go back to school, there can be lots of fears and worries and things that pop up in their mind that can make that process a little bit tricky for them and therefore a little bit tricky for you as well. So in this video, I'm going to share with you some tangible strategies that you can implement with your child or children or teenager to help them to transition back more successfully. Firstly, talk up going back to school as a really positive experience. Make sure that the language that you're using around your children is really positive. When you're having these discussions about going back to school, make sure you're saying things like, "Oh mate, are you so excited to see your friends? What are you going to be doing first? Where are you going to play? What do you think you're going to be learning about? You haven't been there for so long." So really trying to pump them up and get them excited by modeling that excitement to them is a really, really good tool that you can use to help to ease their nerves a little bit. Ask them about what was their favourite things that they remember from doing at school all those months ago. Maybe it was canteen days on Friday. Maybe it's art or sport or simply having lunch and hanging out with their friends. Have discussions around all those exciting things, those positive things that they really did enjoy, and talk about how much fun it's going to be for them to do those things again. If your child is a teenager, talk about the freedoms that they're going to have by being able to hang out with their friends again, both at school and outside of school. So going back to school is going to be amazing because you're going to be able to connect with all those friends again. Plus, you can then make plans to do all these extra things outside of school. You guys can go shopping, you can go to the beach, using really positive language to help your child to get excited about going back to school. Another really vital strategy is to make space, safe space at home to have open conversation about whatever it is that your children are feeling about going back to school. Sit down with your child or your children and have an open conversation about their fears. What is it that they're worried about? What is it that they're excited about? Is there anything that is in their mind that is causing them concern? Encourage your children to get what's in their head out, because that process of getting our thoughts out can help us to see our thoughts in a bit more of a realistic way. It can also help you as a parent to guide your child through that process of what they're thinking. As a parent, I know we just want to fix everything for our children, right? We just want to give them all the answers, but that is just impossible. Don't feel like when you're having these conversations with your children that you do need to give them all the answers. Particularly if your child is a teenager, but younger children as well, they often just want us to listen. They don't always want to have our advice or our input into their life and what they could do or should be doing. So while you're having this conversation, just think about that. Make sure that you're making time and space to really listen to them, to listen to their thoughts, to listen to their needs, their worries, their fears, their excitements, everything that's going through them. And then if they ask you for advice or for your opinion or what you think, then is the time for you to add in your extra bits. Making that space for your child to get those thoughts out of their mind is really beneficial. It's beneficial for them, because if we keep things in our mind, they just go around and around and around to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And what was actually a small thing turns into this huge thing. So if your child has this fear about whatever it might be, if they're not expressing that, if they're not processing that, then it's just compounding in their mind and becoming this huge big thing that they won't know how to deal with. So create that safe space for open conversation, judgment-free conversation, where you can just listen and guide them through what they need. If your gorgeous child has a large amount of fear, anxiety or worry around going back to school, there are things that you can do to help. First of all, I encourage you to sit down and write their fears with them. When you're having your safe space conversations, make a list. Probably try to keep them to about 3 or 4. You don't want to have a huge page of a million fears and worries. Try to choose their biggest fears and worries to focus on. Write them down. And then I want you to say to your child, what's the worst thing that can happen from this fear? So for example, if their fear is that their friends won't be their friends anymore, then the worst thing that could happen is that they'll have no one to play with. Then I want you to list next to that, how realistic is this fear? So perhaps your child has been making Zoom calls or even having catch-up dates. Maybe you're in a bubble together, so they do have contact with some friends at school. You can use that as an example. Well, honey, I know that you've been hanging out with or making contact with X, Y, and Z, name their friends. So when you go back to school, there's no reason that they're not going to be your friend, is there? So how realistic is it that you're going to have no one to play with? Probably not very realistic. You're probably definitely going to at least have one person that you will be able to play with. Remind your child as well that they are not in this alone. Everybody's in the same space, right? We've all been in lockdowns. We're all coming back in the same space. So while it might feel daunting for them, everybody's going to be feeling that way, and that's okay. So encouraging them that they're not alone in this, that they've got other people out there that they can talk to and that are feeling the same way, might just help to take a little bit of that fear and anxiety away from them. Another really good strategy is to teach breathing strategies to your little ones who suffer from anxiety. I desperately wish that I knew how to use my breath when I was a child. I spent years suffering from anxiety and as a younger adult, panic attacks, and not knowing how to control them, not even realizing what it was. I didn't know what these funny feelings were. They were just these things that happened to me, that had been happening to me for as long as I could remember. But in my mid-20s, when I started to learn all about me and what was triggering me and what was happening inside me, and oh, hang on, that's actually anxiety, that feeling is anxiety, or that feeling is panic. And I then went on the journey of discovering things that can help me. The breath was one of the most amazing strategies that I learned. I encourage you to go back through my previous videos and do them with your children. Teach them how to use their breath, how that can help them through their anxiety and through their nerves and stress and worry. Another really good strategy to implement with your child to help them to transition back to school successfully is to write a list of their safe places at school and their safe people at school. So where do they go within the school environment where they feel safe? It might be within the classroom, library perhaps, somewhere in the playground. They will be able to tell you where they feel safest in the school. So write those places down, list them so they can visually see them. And next, who are their safe people at school? Who can they depend on? Who can they talk to? Again, it could be teachers in like a classroom environment. Perhaps they have a wellbeing teacher, might be the school counsellor, an assistant principal, a previous teacher. Perhaps they have really strong friendships and they have some good friends that they can talk to. They may have siblings in other grades. Just remind them of the safe spaces and the safe people that are at school to help them. We want to excite our children about going back to school. We want to make them bursting to get back there and to see what it's all about again and start learning again. And one of the ways that I think we can really encourage them to do that and to build that excitement within them is to get them something new that they can take to school with them. Something they can show off to their friends, something that's a little bit different and out of the ordinary to how it was a few months back. It could be something as simple as a new pencil case, some new gel pens or whatever the fad is that they're all into right now, scented highlighters or whatever it might be. It could be a new drink bottle with their favourite character, or maybe if you've got a teenager, it might be a more grown-up drink bottle. It could be a new lunchbox, a take-home cup, something to have smoothies in while they're travelling to school on the bus. Providing something for them that will give them that little bit of excitement, just like you do when they start school at the new year and everything is fresh and everything is new and exciting. Try to capture a little bit of that feeling now as you're sending them back to school after these lockdowns. Just something nice and simple, doesn't have to be expensive, something that they can show off to their friends and feel a little bit special about. Yeah, I'm going back to school and this is what I've got to take with me. And that was our video on helping your child to transition back to school successfully. I hope that you found some valuable strategies there that you can utilise with your child or children to help them on this journey. I hope that it's a wonderful journey for you all and that they get right back into the swing of things really, really quickly, as I'm sure they will. If you did enjoy this video or you learned something, please give us a like and subscribe, and we'll see you again soon. With love and gratitude.